Okay. Hello, everybody. I think we're going live. No, I think we're going live now. Yes. Okay. Hello, everybody, and Happy New Year. I'm so excited to be here and to do another live. As you know, I love seeing who's watching and who's listening. So please make sure you say hello in the comments. I would love to say hi back. Okay, so let's get started. So last time when I did a live, I spoke about the progression of the handwriting skills, and we discussed the pre-writing shapes as well as the letter formation. And if you haven't seen it, make sure after this you go back to my Facebook feed and scroll down and check it out. Now, during that presentation, there was one of our listeners who was really curious about finding out how she can be teaching her kiddos those actual skills. So this is what we want to be. This is what I'm going to be talking about today. Now, before we get into the actual magic of how to teach our kids these particular skills, I want to mention a little bit about how our kids learn. I think this is very important because it will really give you this, the understanding and the strategies on how to teach your kids skills within any area really that they're able to remember things better and understand things better. So, to understand how our kids learn, I think it's important to also understand a little bit about our sensory system. Now, next week, I will be talking about in more details about the senses and the sensory processing aspects of it. But today, I want to mention just a bit about the sensory system because it relates to how we're going to be teaching our kids. Now, everything that we take in, all the information that we take in from outside of our world as well as inside of our bodies, it all happens through the use of our senses. Our body, our body has 8 different sensory systems. There are senses that are taking information from the outside of the world, and there are senses that are taking information from the inside of our bodies. Now, the senses are, some of them you might be very familiar with. We have vision, so that processes any information that you see. Then there's the auditory sense, which processes any information that is heard. Then we have the olfactory sense, which processes any information that you smell. Then we have the gustatory sense, which processes the information that through the mouth, through the tongue, so that's taste. Then we have the tactile sense. The tactile sense is taken in through our skin, so any part of our skin. Then we have the vestibular sense. The vestibular sense processes our head position in space. So, it holds us up against gravity as well as it helps with the development of balance and coordination. Then we have the proprioceptive sense. The proprioceptive sense, it processes any information between our joints, tendons, and muscles, and really helps us figure out, where our body is in space. So it really helps with the body coordination. Body awareness. Then there is interoception, and those senses are within our organs. So they help us figure out if we are hungry, thirsty, need to go to the bathroom, or if we're cold or hot. Now, the way that we process the sensory information is basically our senses pick up the different sensations. That information is then sent to our brain where it's processed and organized, and then is sent to our body back for action. So, for example, if there is a spider crawling on your hand, right, the pressure that the spider's legs make on your hand, what they do is they send signals to your brain, and your brain then processes that information and figures out, what potentially this could be, that there's something on your hand that's moving, and then sends an information back to your body for action. So your eyes would then look at it, and you might scream, who knows, and then you'll quickly swipe that spider off. So all of that obviously happens in milliseconds, but that's basically how the sensory processing works. Now, the senses don't always work in isolation. A lot of the senses do really work together. And the more information we gather, with anything really, the more information we have, the better we're able to problem solve or learn things. So this kind of brings us back to this multisensory approach thing. There was a cognitive psychologist by the name of Richard Meyer, and he did quite a bit of research that explored the link between the multisensory environments as well as learning. So one of the studies example was he had a group of a room full of people, and he divided them into 3 different groups. One group was provided information just auditory, so they were just listening to the information. One group was provided the information just through vision, so just seeing the information. And the third group was using both hearing and seeing to learn. What he found is that the multisensory environment, multisensory approach always did better in learning and understanding the information than just the unisensory. And his results showed that this was better by 50 to 75%, which I do really think is quite significant. So what does this actually mean to our kiddos, for our kiddos when they're learning? And basically is if you use more than one sensory system at the same time to learn something, they will be able to learn this information not only faster, but they will remember it better and for longer. So the extra sensory information will help your kids to remember things better. So back to our original question, how do we teach our kids all those pre-writing shapes and letters? And again, you can take this approach to anything that you want to teach your kids. But basically what we want to do is we want to use multiple senses. So if we are teaching if we start looking at the different senses that we can use when we are teaching our kids, the first one is the vision, right? The visual sense. So if we look at the first pre-writing shape, let's say, going down, the line going down, what you want your child to do is to see this particular shape or letter, right, that you are teaching them. Okay, now the first way that the kids learn these shapes and letters is through imitation. So imitation is them seeing how you form those particular shapes and letters. This is important because they need to know how to start a particular letter shape and what are the steps afterwards. And this is particularly important when we are looking at letter formation, because the stroke order of when we're writing our letters will then dictate how neatly and how fast they'll be able to write long term. Now, the next sense that you can use is the auditory sense. So when I teach my own kids and all my students letters and shape, I use my own voice to kind of describe what I'm doing. For the littlies, I like to sing and use the tunes of popular songs and nursery rhymes that are familiar to the kids. So for example, just with the line going down, I would be maybe using the tunes of the wheels on the bus, and go, for example, maybe the rain is falling down, 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 right? And then if, for example, we're going across, we can say the train is going across, 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 across. So any kind of tunes that your kid likes, go ahead and use that. Now, with writing letters, so for older kids, if they're into songs, definitely go for it and sing. But if you think that, singing might not be good for them, still talk. We still want to include that auditory sense. So what you can do is basically describe how you are forming those shapes, those letters, sorry. So we start at the top, we go down, 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 stop. Frog jump up. Then we go down, 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 slide down, 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 stop. Frog jump to the middle, and then we're gonna go across, 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 across. So you really want to describe what you are writing. Um, so that's the auditory sense. Next sense is the tactile sense. So learning the shapes and the letters, it's not at all about, paper and pen. Use the tactile sense. So if you're outside, I mean, go ahead and use your environment. So what I mean by that is, use sticks. You can pick up sticks with your kids and start forming letters with that. You can use leaves that you find and use that. Pine cones, stones, anything that you use, you can outside. You can make letters and shapes out of it. If you're at home, you can use. There's a lot of different craft materials. There's the pipe cleaners that you can bend and form any shapes or any letters. You can cut them into smaller pieces and start forming that. You can use pom-poms. You can crunch up paper and use that to form the letters. Play-Doh is absolutely fantastic. Not only is it great at strengthening those fingers and those hands, but you can roll Play-Doh into little snakes, and then form letters from that. You can use shaving cream and then get them to use a pointer finger to form the different letters or shapes. If you don't want it to be messy, do it in the bathtub, easy cleanup. If you have those sensory tables that are filled like with rice or beans, they can form the shapes and letters inside of that. You can, if you want to use paper, you can certainly make it a little bit more tactile. For example, here I have sandpaper. So you can use the sandpaper and then put paper on top of it. So when they go to write, the bumpy kind of texture gives them that extra feedback. You can do it on the carpet as well. So having them lying on the tummy and have the paper just blankly on the carpet. Lying on the tummy, again, it gives them extra feedback on the shoulders, which strengthens the shoulders, which is extra bonus for when we're doing any of those writing tasks. You can use chalk outside, paintbrush with paint, or if you don't want to get messy, put water in the cup, go outside on concrete and then dip the paintbrush into water and write the pages, letters or the shapes. You can use boards as well, and then what you can do is, sorry, it's kind of moving around, is when you are doing, when they write the different letters or shapes, then you can get the finger and kind of go over the strokes of how they're forming the letters. So go in the order of it. So that's an extra feedback there as well. So what I would also do is when you do practice all these things, don't always just practice, kind of face down. Make sure you use vertical surfaces as well. You can use an easel, or if you don't have an easel, just get some paper and tape and stick it onto the wall. This is great for really strengthening the wrist, which is very important when it comes to writing, because being able to hold your wrist, more in extension like this versus the down like this, this position, which I see a lot of kids doing, really limits with how well, if you guys try it, how well you can actually move that pencil if you would have it in your hand. But if your wrist is a little bit bent up, it's much easier to control that pencil and give it more finer moves. So that's very important. So vertical surface activities, also super important. Now, the last sense that we can do is kind of use those internal senses and do some body movements. So, for example, when you're learning the shapes of those letters, using big arm movements. So, putting the arm up straight and kind of doing the different strokes of the letters. Now you can even use auditory at the same time. Okay, let's write the letter H. We start at the top and then go down, 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 down. Frog jump up, go straight down, 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 and then we're gonna go across, 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 across. So that is something that's a great strategy, and I have been using with my own kids and others as well. Uh, Oh, thank you, Cherish. Cherish saying that it's a great idea to have them lying on their tummies. Yes, very good. I mean, that also practices the eyes going up and down as well, which is very important for when you're looking on the board, right? They went down. The shoulders are really getting strong. Another way to kind of get those body movements involved is if you go outside and you use chalk and you can write the different letters or the shapes on the chalk. If the letters are not gigantic, they can be gigantic, but if they're not very gigantic, maybe this big, your kiddos can then walk the actual lines that you draw. So if you're writing H, they can start at the top, and it's important to do the way that the letters are formed. So then they go walk, walk, walk down, and again, if the letters are not gigantic, then they can jump up to the other side. When we say frog jump, so they can do the jump up and then go down, 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 down again, and then frog jump into the middle and then kind of go across, across. And already have that visual aspect as a guideline, which is important. Another thing that I love to use, one of my favorite things, is actually washi tape. Washi tape is so great because it's when you stick it on walls, on floors, it actually doesn't leave any of those sticky residue, which is great. Love it for a lot of different things, but in respect to kind of writing, and what you can do is they can form those shapes or letters using the washi tape, and you can stick it on the walls again for the vertical surface, right, or on the floor. And again, they can walk it, jump it, the strokes the way that we just discussed. And then the last step that you can really use with the washi tapes. Here's a miniature version of the washi tape letters that you can put on the floor. But at the end, then they have to take the tape off, but using again the correct order of the strokes. So we would start from this side, right? And then we just kind of take it off, and then we do a frog jump up. So we start from this line, and then we go down again. Here we go. And then the last one is the line in the middle, and then we just take that off. So that's the way you can actually really integrate the body. So again, to summarize, the more senses that we use, the better your child is going to be learning those particular skills. So when you are teaching your kiddos how to draw the shapes or the letters, try to incorporate these senses, doing the visual, the auditory, the tactile, and kind of the body movements, right? Which would be kind of the vestibular and proprioceptive senses. And if you have if you haven't heard the last talk where I was talking about, we first want to work on those pre-writing shapes, and then the uppercase letters, and then the lowercase letters. And with the pre-writing shapes, in the last talk, I actually attached a page which lists also the ages, what ages those shapes should be mastered. So if you're curious about that, please check it out. Oh, thank you, Tanya. You're saying that you love the idea of incorporating nature. Yes, nature is absolutely wonderful. Oh, and Cherish, I love your idea as well, using crayons on the trampoline. We jump and draw. Oh my gosh, excellent. And then you're using that vestibular system where the head is changing position that stimulates the vestibular system, which is so great at kind of, a vestibular system also affects your alertness levels, so that not only are they more alert when they're learning, but then, you've got the different sense that you're using to remember those letters, which is awesome. Okay, now you may notice that, all of these senses didn't really, all of these activities didn't really include pen and paper. Now, pen and paper do have their own place, but I think when you're starting to teach your kiddos, it's so important to use all those different senses. Pen and paper, it only really uses the visual sense because they just see the letter and then they copy it. So that's not too much. It's great for practicing later and making the letters more neat. But I think initially definitely use that multisensory approach, um, because you really want to kind of get those strokes very automatic. Now, it's also not essential to be all the time setting up a particular time to be writing. You want to kind of seize the different opportunities with whatever you're already doing. So if you are outside in nature, definitely, use all those natural materials to be forming the shapes and the letters. If you are inside the home and you guys are doing some craft, use the different materials that you have for the different activities. I mean, frequently with my kiddos, when we go out, especially with my younger 4-year-old, um, he's learning right now all his letters. So we are doing a lot of kind of formation of letters with the leaves and sticks outside, and it's just so much more fun. I know a few weeks ago they were really both of my boys were really into treasure hunts. So when we would go for a walk, I would just grab some chalk and then we would draw maps as we go. So different arrows, which is straight lines, diagonal lines, and X's. So you kind of really incorporate it into you already do. Um, because I mean, our life is already so busy. We already have so many things that we need to do that, you can make this easier for yourself to still, really provide your kids great educational experiences that supports their learning, but already with things that you do. I think we need to kind of use our time wisely. So I think that's it for me today. I really hope you found this information useful. Please come back, post pictures or write notes about if you've tried out any of the strategies or post pictures. I love to see and hear how you guys are going. If there's anything else that you want me to talk about, also post it in the comments. And next week, I guess my plan is to talk about the sensory system and the benefit of sensory play. So I'll kind of be getting into that. Oh, thank you, Holly. Great. You have summer right now, right? So paintbrushing water on the